This is The Allusionist, in which I, Helen Zaltzman, sell on eBay a big bag of language lightly used. 4-letter word season continues, and this time we do not require explicit tags or content warnings, because today's 4-letter word is quiz. Or rather, today we have a quiz about 4-letter words. Play along while you listen. Gather paper and pencil, or use the interactive school sheet at theallusionist.org/444. That's the digits 444. When you're there, hit the events tab because there are a few things coming up. The Allusionist live show Souvenirs is playing in Montreal June 9th. On 3rd of July in Vancouver, I'm part of a special one-off live show with the podcast Material Girls. And also in Vancouver, on the 16th of October, I get to interview Samin Nosrat at an event for her new cookbook, Good Things. Could there be a gooder thing than that? Samin featured in another Allusionist quiz. That one was all about food. And you can listen and play along with that. And all the other previous quizzes, there are 7 in total, each of them packed with etymology and amusing linguistic facts. There's a swearing quiz, a creature-themed quiz, and one where you listeners set the questions. Also on The Allusionist's forever home, theallusionist.org, you can find a playlist of episodes that are relevant to Pride Month, and just as relevant every month. There's one about the secret gay language Polari. There's the origins of terms like queerbaiting and rainbow washing, being a birth parent when you're a trans man, listeners' stories of changing their names as part of their gender journeys, Ace Aero terms, new queer vocabulary in Icelandic and Scots, old queer vocabulary in Maori. There is no title bringing unbeatable arguments for use in combat with singular they whiners. And there is the story of how the word pride was chosen for pride. Alright, are you ready for quiz? That's a practice question, no points. On with the quiz. Today's quiz is 4 sets of 4 questions, each of which are multiple choice with, of course, 4 answers to choose from. Question 1. The word light is an alternate term dating back at least 800 years for which 4-letter body part? A. Brow. B. Lung. C. Hand. D. Nose. The word light is an alternate term for which body part? A. Brow. B. Lung. C. Hand. D. Nose. Answer B. Light is a term for lung, because lungs are light organs rather than heavy organs, and indeed the word lung itself meant not heavy. Also on the topic of body parts, question 2. The word foot has not just represented the appendage on the end of a leg, or the 12-inch or 30.48 centimetre length, or the unit that forms a line of poetry, or the bottom of something, or dregs, or the pitch length of organ pipes, but also all of the following things except one. Which one of the following 4 things is not sometimes known as a foot? A. A person. B. A unit for weighing lead. C. Kombucha SCOBY. Or D. Genitals. Which one of these things is not sometimes known as a foot? A. A person. B. A unit for weighing lead. C. Kombucha SCOBY. Or D. Genitals. The answer is C. Kombucha SCOBY is not known as a foot, although SCOBY is an acronym. It stands for Symbiotic Culture of Bacteria and Yeast. All of the other answers are sometimes feet, or have been. In Middle English, foot is a metonym for person, like how head is a metonym for person, for instance, if you're doing a head count. So a person was a foot, and a nobody was a non-foot. In England, between the late 13th and late 16th centuries, foot or fotmol was a unit to measure the weight of lead, equivalent to about 70 merchants' pounds. A merchant's pound was the equivalent to 9,600 wheat grains. I take it that it was clear from context whether one wanted to buy a foot of lead by length or by weight. And foot was a euphemism for genitals in the Bible, although it did sometimes also mean a foot. Question 3. Nepo baby is 2 4-letter words short for nepotism babytism. In nepotism etymology, which family member is the component nepo referring to? A. Father. B. Grandmother. C. Nephew. D. Cousin. Which family member is putting the nepo into nepotism? A. Father. B. Grandmother. C. Nephew. D. Cousin. The answer is C. The family member the word nepotism is referring to is nephew. The English term comes from the Italian nepotismo, derived from the Italian for nephew, nepos, and it was originally referring to popes and bishops showing favouritism to their nephews, instead of sons, as their vows of celibacy meant they weren't supposed to have had sons, although the nephews might have been sons rebranded. It wasn't just nephews or pseudo-nephews who benefited. For instance, Pope Paul III made his grandsons, that is, unofficial off-label grandsons, into cardinals in 1534. They were 14 and 16 at the time. Big first job, that. There was a lot of drama in that family. Murder, tax war, ship theft. Anyway, in 1692, Pope Innocent XII issued a papal bull designed to stop the nepotism by preventing popes from giving offices, money and property to more than one relative. Yes, they were still allowed one nepo cardinal. On to question 4. Each round of this quiz concludes with an eponym question, and here is this. John Venn's name is famous from Venn diagrams, which he has the credit for inventing, even though they're really just tweaked diagrams previously come up with by the likes of Leonhard Euler more than 100 years before, and they weren't even new then, actually. Classic Stigler's law of eponymy. Venn himself called the diagrams Eulerian circles. But what did John Venn really invent? A. A machine for bowling cricket balls. B. A machine for scrubbing your back in the bath. C. Rotary lawnmowers. Or D. Tumble dryers. What did John Venn really invent? A. A machine for bowling cricket balls. B. A machine for scrubbing your back in the bath. C. Rotary lawnmowers. D. Tumble dryers. The answer is A. John Venn invented a machine for bowling cricket balls to, I quote a contemporary newspaper report from 1909, do away with the drudgery of bowling. Well, you could do away with the drudgery of batting too, and then you've done away with the drudgery of playing cricket. Yeah, I said it. Another John Venn credit in August 1887 at the Cambridge Working Men's Liberal Club's second annual flower show. John Venn won first prize in the hanging baskets competition. Okay, round 2, are you ready? Regardless, here we go. Question 5. Bevy started out as a collective term for what? A. Quails. B. Bees. C. Rubber duckies. D. Rowboats. Bevy was a collective term for A. Quails. B. Bees. C. Rubber duckies. Or D. Rowboats. The answer is A. Bevy was a collective term for quails, and also on occasion for other creatures, including larks, pheasants, roe deer, and ladies. Question 6. The adjective limaceous pertains to which 4-letter creature? A. Crab. B. Lion. C. Wren. D. Slug. Limaceous pertains to A. Crab. B. Lion. C. Wren. Or D. Slug. The answer is D. The adjective limaceous pertains to the 4-letter creature, the slug. The word slug originally meant a lazy person, and then got applied to the slow-moving creature. Question 7. The acronym GOAT, greatest of all time, was attributed to which sporting legend's spouse? A. Serena Williams' husband Alexis Ohanian. B. Pele's wife Asiria Lemos Seixas. C. Muhammad Ali's wife Lonnie Ali. D. Eddie the Eagle's wife Samantha Morton. Which sporting legend's spouse gets the credit for the acronym GOAT, greatest of all time? A. Serena Williams' husband. B. Pele's wife. C. Muhammad Ali's wife. Or D. Eddie the Eagle's wife. The answer is C. The person to whom the acronym GOAT is attributed is Muhammad Ali's wife Lonnie Ali, from when in 1992 she incorporated the company Greatest of All Time Inc., or GOAT Inc., for licensing Muhammad Ali's intellectual properties for commercial purposes. The company has since been sold and renamed Muhammad Ali Enterprises, but still operates goat products and gets into quite a few trademark disputes with other companies doing goat-named things. Eponym time. Question 8. The Petri dish is named after the German physician Julius Petri, but he didn't come up with it, he just tweaked the invention of his boss, the microbiologist Robert Koch. So it could have had the 4-letter name Koch dish. But Robert Koch wanted to name it what? A. Germ frisbee. B. Jelly plate. C. Cell circle. Or D. Moist chamber. Robert Koch, inventor of the Petri dish, wanted to name it A. Germ frisbee. B. Jelly plate. C. Cell circle. Or D. Moist chamber. The answer is D. Robert Koch wanted to name his invention Moist Chamber. So perhaps Julius Petri was doing a lot of people a favour by getting the eponym even if he doesn't deserve it. Unusual for an underling to get the credit for a boss's invention. It's not how eponyms usually go. Question 9. The mineral onyx's name is an ancient Greek word that originally meant which part of the body? A. Tooth. B. Fingernail. C. Eyeball. D. Kneecap. In ancient Greek, onyx meant A. Tooth, B. Fingernail, C. Eyeball, or D. Kneecap. The answer is B. Onyx is an ancient Greek word that originally meant the fingernail, because the version of onyx that is pink-coloured with white streaks was thought to resemble a fingernail. I think they more resemble a melting humbug. Question 10. Brat is not only the word to define summer 2024, it is also a slang for a child and has been for 500 years. Before that, brat meant what? A. A cloak. B. A puppy. C. A wart. Or D. Flatbread. Before it meant a child, brat meant A. A cloak. B. A puppy. C. A wart. Or D. Flatbread. The answer is A. Brat was a cloak made of coarse material. The first appearance of the word to mean a child may have been in the flighting poems of William Dunbar from the turn of the 16th century that we talked about a few episodes ago, but people aren't sure whether he did mean a child or the rough cloak. Easy to mix up. Question 11. Rube, the insult for an unsophisticated person, comes from what? A. A playful riff on cube, which was a way to call someone square but even squarer than square. B. An ironic reference to Rube Goldberg machines as the opposite of something simple. C. A euphemism for boob. Or D. An abbreviation of the name Rubin. Rube comes from what? A. A playful riff on cube. B. Ironic reference to Rube Goldberg machines. C. A euphemism for boob. Or D. An abbreviation of the name Rubin. The answer is D. Rube is an abbreviation of the name Rubin. But the cube thing really was a way to say someone was so square they were square squared. Eponym time, a Led Zeppelin-nym. Question 12. The band Led Zeppelin played one show on the 28th of February 1970 in Copenhagen under a different name 4 letters long, which was what? A. The Bomb. B. The Blob. C. The Knobs. Or D. The Leads. Led Zeppelin's band name for one night only was A. The Bomb, B. The Blob, C. The Knobs, or D. The Leads. The answer is C. The name Led Zeppelin played one show as in 1970 in Copenhagen was The Knobs, N-O-B-S, after their European promoter Claude Knobs. Why? Well, Led Zeppelin's name contained the eponym Zeppelin, after the Zeppelin airship's inventor Count Ferdinand von Zeppelin, who was nobility from the town Zeppelin in Germany. In the late 1960s, Led Zeppelin got big, and Ferdinand von Zeppelin's granddaughter, Eva von Zeppelin, was not happy that they were making money from the family name, and particularly not happy when she saw the cover of their first album, which has a picture of the Hindenburg airship exploding on it. She thought it was very disrespectful to the family name, so then she threatened legal action to prevent them using the name, and to prevent them playing a scheduled show in Copenhagen under their name. The easiest way around it all was for them to just use a different name for that one concert in Copenhagen, hence the Knobs. This wasn't even the first time that Led Zeppelin had dealt with legal issues over the band's name. They had been called the New Yardbirds because they evolved from the remains of the band the Yardbirds, until a cease and desist letter from a former Yardbird prevented them from using the New Yardbirds, so they came up with the name Led Zeppelin. It was a play on lead balloon, lead with the A removed so people didn't pronounce it lead, and Zeppelin as a synonym for balloon. On to our fourth and final round. Question 13. The word gunk, as in goo, was originally a trademark term for which product? A. A cleaning solvent. B. A strong-smelling cheese. C. Fruit puree baby food. Or D. Indelible ink. Gunk was originally a trademark term for A. A cleaning solvent. B. A strong-smelling cheese. C. Fruit puree baby food. Or D. Indelible ink. The answer is A. Gunk was a cleaning solvent. The Gunk brand has been going for more than 70 years, I think. Speaking of cleaning products, question 14. Soap comes from the Latin word sapo, first recorded by the historian Pliny the Elder in his Historia Naturalis around 77 Common Era. Back then, the sapo was a substance made of goat suet mixed with ash. What did Pliny the Elder say people were using it for at that time? A. Dyeing their hair red. B. Treating scrofula. C. Cleaning their teeth. D. Greasing cartwheels. What were people using sapo for, according to Pliny the Elder? A. Dyeing their hair red. B. Treating scrofula. C. Cleaning their teeth. D. Greasing cartwheels. The answer is either A or B. You can have a point whichever of those you chose. Pliny the Elder did not know people to be greasing cartwheels with the sapo, nor cleaning their teeth or their bodies with it. Question 15. The etymology of accolade means to embrace which four-letter thing? A. A book. B. A swan. C. A neck. D. A tree. Accolade meant to embrace which four-letter thing? A. A book. B. A swan. C. A neck. D. A tree. The answer is C. Accolade meant to embrace someone around the neck, the same col as in collar. The word appeared in English in the late 16th or early 17th century, and back then it referred to being made a knight, via the neck embrace, and or a sword tap on either shoulder. And our final question and final eponym, question 16. The Mariko Aoki phenomenon is the phenomenon where, when you go into a bookshop, you are gripped by the urge to do what? A. Nap. B. Cry. C. Dance. D. Poop. The Mariko Aoki phenomenon is being gripped by the urge in a bookshop to do what? A. Nap. B. Cry. C. Dance. D. Poop. The answer is D. The Mariko Aoki phenomenon is the phenomenon where, when you go into a bookshop, you are gripped by the urge to poop. Mariko Aoki wrote about it in a letter to Book magazine in 1985, and that spurred loads of people to chime in to say they too feel like they suddenly need to poop in bookshops. She later elaborated on it, that it happens irrespective of the topic of books, but never happens to her in second-hand bookshops or libraries, and it also didn't happen when she worked at a printery, so don't go thinking it was caused by the smell of the ink. It is sudden onset, and only after an hour of being in the bookshop. So those are the criteria to assess whether you too are beset by the Mariko Aoki phenomenon, or your trip to the bookshop coincided with an unrelated bowel movement which doesn't count. That is our quiz. Now add up your points, possible maximum of 16, and then go ahead and multiply them by 4, because why not? What did you score between 0 and 64? Let me know. Oh, wow, very impressive. Or, well, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Or, well done for trying. It was mostly a guessing game. And anyway, you don't need points to prove your worth. Thank you for playing. If you like this show, please recommend it to someone. Like, listen to The Allusionist or else. No, I don't think you should do that. Nobody wants to be bullied. Do it. I know. If you don't listen to the Allusionist, better watch your back. This is entirely the wrong tone to strike. But a recommendation to someone who says they're seeking a podcast? Perfect. Dropping the name into an online discussion about which fact-based podcast to listen to that won't make you feel terrible about the news? That would be so kind, thank you. Another podcast I can recommend to you is my other show, Answer Me This, brought out of retirement for one last job, the job of providing amusing trivia. Find it in the pod places and at answermethispodcast.com. Your randomly selected word from the dictionary today is rostellum, noun, a little beak, a beak-like outgrowth from an orchid column, the forepart of a tapeworm's head. Try using rostellum in an email today. This episode was produced by me, Helen Zaltzman. The music is by the singer and composer Martin Austwick of palebirdmusic.com. Find Allusionist Show on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky and YouTube, and you can hear or read every episode. Get more information about the topics they're in, and see the full dictionary entries for the randomly selected words. Donate to the show to keep it going and in return receive perks, including membership of the Illusiverse community. And keep track of events that are coming up, such as live shows. All of that is at the show's forever home, theillusionist.org.